just so y'all know, before I start my videos, we do a little thing where we give, or where I give, Jelly a treat here. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Go over to your, go to your spot. Okay. So, before I get started, hello, guys, gals, or girls, guys, or otherwise. Sorry. I forgot my intro there for a second. Before I go any further, Pure Bites, not sponsored. This is the chicken breast one. Jelly loves them. So, yeah. Little pro tip for you. And they're not like really expensive or anything. They're I would say adequately priced for a nice little treat for the kitties. So anyway, yeah, that's one thing that usually happens before filming, is that Jelly gets a treat, and I figured it was something cute that you guys would like to see, or y'all would like to see. I want to try to gender neutralize my speech, and it's something that I'm trying to make sure that I do. So, yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, let me get a drink, and we'll get on started in this Witchy Book Club series. Hold on. We are going through The Inner Temple of Witchcraft by Christo-Pagan. Link will be below. We are on our regularly scheduled programming. If you missed chapter 14, it was yesterday that I posted that one. If you need some time to catch up, totally understand. Yeah, all that stuff. You know, these are videos. You can watch them whenever you want. Whatever. Anyway, couple points of order before we go on is, if you have not yet subscribed, go ahead and make sure that you hit that subscribe button right over around here. I do believe that's where it's located. If you have questions or comments, go ahead and put them down in my pants area in the comment section down below. I do read all the comments. I don't always get a chance to respond, or you may get a response like a month later as I'm doing mass comment catch up, but I do see them all and I do appreciate them, and I do eventually respond. So yeah, anyway, so getting into this book, again, link is below. Inner Temple of Witchcraft, chapter 15, lesson 11 on healing. As a reminder, there is a 20th edition, so the page numbers that I am calling out may not match your book precisely. So, yeah, with that, I'm not going to go over the assignments that we had, because exercise 31, I'm not going to do it, because this is something that I already regularly do, with going to an astral, to the astral plane. In my mind, that is where my inner temple is. It's actually within you. Astral is without or outside of you. It's complicated, but that's how I see it. Excuse me. So yeah, I'm not going to go doing exercise 31 because it's already something that I really do. Daily journal entries, 3 pages a day. Since I did this yesterday, I have not written my 3 pages, and I will be completely honest that I have not been journaling as much as I have been in the past. And just to let you guys know, in about half an hour, actually 35 minutes, my alarm on my phone is going to go off, signifying that it is now 9 o'clock. And that I need to start getting ready for bed and get to sleep for work tomorrow. So, yeah, that's something that's going to happen, and at that time, I'm just going to simply turn the alarm off, and we're not going to edit any of that out or anything, because this is going to be a quick and easy chapter, easy editing, let me say that. This is a chapter that I do have issue with, and we're going to get into it. So, chapter 15, lesson 11 on healing. And we've been doing this where we look at the first sentence, the first paragraph of a chapter, and we see how it compares to the others, whether or not it's a strong first sentence or first paragraph or not. So we're going to do just that. And it starts, Western medicine focuses on physical anatomy, the internal organs, bones, and blood vessels. All of our traditional cures are based completely in the physical, usually viewing the symptoms, the areas of discomfort, as the main problem. Witches, on the other hand, have an entirely different focus. Okay, before I get into the discussion on healing, I will stress, and I'm going to probably say this ad nauseum, during the entirety of this video, if you are sick, see a damn doctor. Uh, the spiritual can only do so much. Sometimes the physical is really what is harmful to you at this moment, and it's not going to be healed with non-traditional medicine. There are reasons that we have antibiotics and surgeries and different medicines and vaccines out there. Listen to the science. Okay, and I'm going to go on that tangent several times in this video, so just be warned of that. I will say there is a certain amount that spiritual and holistic stuff can do for you. And I will not negate that there are certain benefits to living a more holistic type of lifestyle. However, that should not get in the way of actually seeing a reputable doctor that can actually help you. So, I'm going to just stop there because I know I'm going to rant several times in this chapter. This is something that I feel can and sometimes does cause a lot of continuation of illnesses and in some cases even death. So I take this very seriously. We're going to move on. This is on page 273, just the next paragraph down. Ancient witches were medicine people of their communities, fully addressing health through a wide range of techniques. Yes, this is historically accurate. The witches of old were your healers. They were your midwives. They were the herbalists, what would now be considered a pharmacist. You know, the pharmaceuticals were derived from ancient witchcraft and whatnot. So yes, historically looking at it, these are healing people. Does that mean that science today should step aside to it? Absolutely not. So, turning the page on 274. Because witches look at the world as a holistic system, we view healing holistically. I can somewhat agree with that. Skipping around, illnesses can be thought of as a form of magic we practice on ourselves. Magic is manifestation, and we unconsciously manifest a disease to understand the message our body is telling us. We can use those same tools, intent and will, to restore a healthy balance. To a certain extent, absolutely. I totally agree. However, to another certain extent, the reason that you have cancer is not necessarily because you are imbalanced spiritually. And I want to make a point of that, and I'm gonna really hammer that point into you during the entirety of this chapter, because this chapter it can get out of hand. When you're looking at something holistically, yes, there are benefits to taking certain herbs and different supplements and whatnot. Yes, they have benefits, absolutely, and I will not negate that. However, make sure it is backed by the science. I know that Healthy Living, I'm going to call them out. Healthy Living has put a lot of stuff on their website that is not necessarily scientifically accurate, and they have been called out upon it and forced to take that stuff down. Look for different things such as has been known to, or is thought to do this or that, or have a certain effect. These are some trigger words that you need to look out for and should set a little alarm off in your mind that, hey, maybe I should look at some peer-reviewed evidence as to whether or not this is actually reputable. Take my word for it, anything that I do whenever it comes to herbs or the witchiness of herbs, I am not a doctor. Please consult a physician before taking any herbs or supplements that may or may not affect your health. So, moving on. And this stuff, yeah, will come as no surprise to you. It's basically poison for you. But, yeah, it is so tasty. And hashtag not sponsored. Pepsi, if you want to sponsor me, go ahead and let me know. Yeah, I will hawk some Mountain Dew. Recommending it, yet not recommending it because it is not good for your body. Moving on. I will take payment in form of Mountain Dew. Yes. Or Pepsi. Seriously, I would. Because, yeah, I kind of live off this stuff, which is not a good thing. Trust me. Moving on to the bottom of that page, the solution to combating physical illness is awareness and balance of the inner self. If you can resolve inner tensions and conflicts before they manifest physically, you spare yourself much physical discomfort. Sometimes, whenever you have a physical discomfort, sometimes that's just discomfort of your body and there's something wrong and you need to get checked. After making sure that you are physically okay and there is no medical reasoning, absolutely attack it with spiritual stuff. It could be that. It definitely could be. If something persists, see a doctor. And you're going to hear me say that a lot. I'm going to tell you that. In society, it is quite common to do what is expected of us rather than what we intuitively feel called to do. But it is much harder to ignore a physical reaction. Often minor illnesses are messages from our body or from your body to take it easy and rest. I will agree with this. Okay. And I like that he says in here, minor illnesses. So this can be situations of just feeling like you're not getting enough rest, that you're not getting enough respite, that you're not, that something is wrong, but not like majorly wrong, like just that you feel drained. And I also want to hit the beginning of the sentence that I read. In society, it is quite common to do what is expected of us rather than what we intuitively feel called to do, but it is much harder to ignore the physical reaction. I think that there is a huge majority of people who are not doing what they are being called to do with their life, whether it be, being a professional witch or doing research into witchcraft or painting or cooking or even some people find joy in cleaning. I don't, these people are insane to me, but they find enjoyment in cleaning, and that is their calling in life, is to go cleaning. And there is this expectation in society that we will do for others more than we will ever do for ourselves. And that can include always saying yes to somebody whenever they say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you real quick do a favor? And this is something that has worked its way into our everyday life. And this is something that I covered in the 40-day empowerment journey back in 2016. I think it was 16. I think that's when it was. Anyway, I got a playlist for it. You guys can go and watch all 40 days, or 40 plus videos to that 40-day empowerment journey. And I think it was the first one, was it's okay to say no. Owning your no and knowing that no is a complete sentence. And I believe I've said this before. Knowing that no is a complete sentence, you don't have to back it up with anything else. You don't have to say no because, or no, I need to do this instead. No. No is just a sentence. And it is a simple sentence. And I think that in certain situations, definitely I wouldn't like say to your boss, your boss comes up to says, hey, can you send me an email about what we talked about earlier so I can, keep it in my mind? Don't say no to that. Say no with a certain purpose, a certain reasoning, being logical about why you're saying no. But knowing that your no is a complete sentence. I read, and I don't know how true it is. Those of you who are in France can tell me whether or not this is true. But often whenever you ask somebody to do something in France, and again, this is completely from one source and I have not researched it any further. Whenever you ask somebody to do something for you, the first answer that they will give you is no. And from what I was reading, again, source cannot remember and unknown if it is true. The source actually said that this goes back to the French Resistance and that little bit of knowing that you can always say no, and that is a complete sentence, is a way of having a mini resistance within your everyday life, and recalling that and knowing that whenever you say yes, it has more power. So I think we need to empower our no's more often. And I like that he has that in there because it gave me that springboard chance for a conversation other than healing. But I often do think that minor illnesses are, like he says here, part of our body saying, it's time to rest. It's time to take a break, relax a little. You deserve it. Have a cup of tea on the deck with a cigarette with your boyfriend, and look at the yard work that you may have to do another day, but today you're taking it easy. Yeah, little projection right there from me. Little side note, my boyfriend and I have actually been doing a lot of yard work, and maybe I will slip a couple pictures in here in the future, or actually, you know what? I'll probably take you guys on a little tour of my backyard and the front yard and some of the changes that I have done to those areas, or that we have done to those areas, because, yeah, it's going to be quite awesome. And I also have some upcycling things that I would also show you guys at the same time. So anyway, yeah, things to look forward to probably around the summertime, whenever things get a little bit more cleaned up and are a little bit more presentable. Okay, we're going to move on here. Understanding the chakras is key to understanding the imbalance of the energy body. Okay, I have been touching on the chakras during Witchy Wednesday, and this Witchy Wednesday we're going to pick up right with the solar plexus chakra. It's going to set us a week behind on my actual calendar, but that's fine. It's okay. No big deal. I'd rather do that than try to make up an extra video, and like I did with the Witchy Book Club series, but this one I had more on a stringent schedule. Same thing if I missed a Tarot Talk Tuesday. I would want to make 2 videos in 1 week to catch up, because I have planned these out. Anyway, but he's saying about understanding the chakras is key to understanding the imbalance of the body. And I do agree with him on this. Understanding what's out of balance with your chakra system is going to be something that it helps you focus on what it is that is making you imbalanced, is making, or is something that you have to focus on in your life. So, for instance, if you are having a hard time talking, let's go with the throat chakra. It's an easy one for me. Um, so if you're having a hard time talking, if you're stuttering a lot, if you're having issues with getting words out or something like that, or even if you're having a hard time listening or hearing somebody, that is something to deal with your throat chakra. Of course, this can be something that's medical as well. Again, see a doctor if, concerns are more than, just a little bit of chakra work. And, even if you're seeing a doctor, does not mean that you can't do chakra work on top of it. So, um, if you're having trouble speaking one day, of course, it could be something that um, maybe you're not listening to somebody, and that's why your throat chakra is hurting, because you're purposely blocking something. So who are you not listening to during that moment in time? Is there somebody that's trying to get your attention a little bit more that you're not allowing them the chance to speak? You are cutting off their voice, so you are also blocking off your voice. So that is something with the chakra system that I would urge people to, maybe there is something um, more metaphysical to this than actually physical. Could it be that the reason that you can't talk is because of a neurological damage? If this goes on for, more than a day, yes, it could be. It could be something serious. Go see a doctor. Absolutely. I would never begrudge somebody to go see a doctor for legitimate medical concerns, or even for, weird little concerns. Hey, maybe you have strep. You don't know. You didn't see a doctor. Anyway, moving on. Ultimately, this viewpoint is empowering. He's talking about. Here, let me start at the beginning of the paragraph here. This is a difficult experience for those not used to introspective work. He's talking about, what part of the body, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and really confronting those things, aka shadow work. Ultimately, this viewpoint is empowering because it means you created an imbalance and now you can create health. But some may think such a holistic view is putting the blame on them, implying they created the illness. Okay, skipping down. Remember that you cannot heal anyone else. You can only help them heal themselves. Okay, if you are a doctor, you can help heal somebody as long as if they're willing to be healed. Um, Giving medicine, administering care. So yeah, I mean, I can slightly disagree and punch holes in his sentences here, left, right, and center. I'm not going to do that entirely because there's other sentences that I will do that too. But I do want to, um, touch points on that. Sometimes you create the imbalance in your life, and sometimes you are to blame, which is hard to hear. It's hard to fathom that we created something so terrible that it is impeding our day-to-day life, but sometimes that's just the truth, and we have to admit it, and we have to be honest with ourselves and sit in that discomfort and be okay sitting in that discomfort and be willing to overcome that discomfort to empower ourselves, to better ourselves, to heal ourselves in a way that is in a spiritual manner, that can reflect our physical manner as well. Again, going to say it 100,000 times in this video, if this is actually something serious, go see a doctor. And then he gives different things that are different illnesses and whatnot, or different glands, organs and illnesses, imbalances, learning, and different things to learn that are attached to each chakra. I'm just going to pass right on over that because I think in this chapter, and I really hate hitting this home, it is way too focused on the you can heal yourself. Sometimes that's just not possible. You cannot just will COVID-19 out of your lungs. You cannot just will yourself out of paralysis. And that is just not something that happens. And we have to look at this logically as well as metaphysically. And it's okay to do both. It is okay. But I want to, and I absolutely have to, because of the responsibility of having a channel, having a platform of any kind, I have to stress the importance of making sure modern medicine does not take a backseat to your actual illnesses. So, moving on. I'm going to move on to page 278, Psychic Diagnosis. And this is at the bottom of the first paragraph. It reads, metaphysical healers use their intuitive and psychic abilities, what witches call magical talents. I do believe that other people have different talents and whatnot. Some have magical medical talents, the intuitives, the healers of our community, the medical intuitives, as they're often called. I think they do have a certain talent, a certain gift that makes them more susceptible to healing. I have never been called to healing in a energetic or physical way to be a healer of people, other than spiritually fulfilling and healing and whatnot. I have never been called to be one that is a medical professional. I once looked to be a funeral director, and that was more to deal with people on an individual level, to heal them through a hard time, an undoubtedly hard, difficult time in their life, and helping them go through that and have a better existence afterwards. Trying to help them feel a little bit better, or just even making the situation a little bit easier to deal with, would have been what I would have done as a funeral director. However, I did not take that career path. Do I regret it? A little bit. Is it something that I look back on and would actually do now, or do now at this station in my life? No, I have plenty of other things going on. But I think it's a wonderful career. Yeah, really? Okay. I love you too. We'll be going to bed here shortly. Don't you worry. Okay. But do I look back on it and think that, I should have taken that career path? No, I think the career path I took is panning out okay. Do I hold anything against those who do have that as a career path? Absolutely not. As long as if they are an ethical person whenever they are being a funeral director. There are so many out there that are part of the funeral industry, and it is horrible and whatnot. Anybody interested in the funeral industry, or an ethical funeral director, and some aspects that go along with the funeral industry, go check out the Ask a Mortician. I had to try to remember it. Ask a Mortician YouTube channel. Wonderful channel. Love it. Absolutely. Caitlin Doty, I think, is her name. And wonderful person. Absolutely hilarious. Cannot say it enough. Love her. Anyway. There are certain people that are, getting back to the book here, there are certain people that are medical intuitives that actually have a type of gift, or have honed a type of gift to work hand in hand with actual medical professionals. And I do think that is okay. Should it replace actual doctors and actual medicine? Absolutely not. If you need chemo for your cancer, make sure you get your chemo for your cancer. Absolutely. Moving on here. It is important to remember that all forms of diagnosis that help us get to the truth are worthwhile. Medical and metaphysical diagnosis, I think it's supposed to be diagnoses, can be complementary, and if an individual is open to both. Excuse me. Medical diagnosis. Oh, excuse me. Part of the Mountain Dew went down the wrong tube. Medical diagnosis can be more precise as to the exact nature of the malady, including chemical and cellular information, but intuitive skills are quite accurate when practiced and, more importantly, often point the way to the root of the problem. I love this. I like it whenever holistic medicine and actual Western medicine can meld and they can get along together. If you are seeing a medical intuitive, I sure hope that this medical intuitive is also saying, hey, doctor, I think that Jane Doe might have a problem in her ovaries, and I think that's where you might need to start. If they're telling a doctor that, and the doctor goes in there and looks at the ovaries and says, hey, you have a problem with this ovary, we have to do something, then I think that there's credit there. There's a communication between the metaphysical and the actual medical professionals. And I think that is important, and I think they should work in tandem, because not only is it more comfort towards the metaphysical, it's more comfortable for the patient, I think overall, that they can go to somebody who's metaphysical, who helps with their beliefs and has a similar or an appreciation towards their beliefs, and they also work with the actual medical professional who will say, okay, even though this is your beliefs and you're having these symptoms, I think we should treat this. It is a good balance, the logical and the metaphysical, and I think that is important. What are you doing? You are just exploring everywhere. Jelly's down on this side instead of this side. She is just exploring. And she is being so loving right now. Anyway, we're going to move on. A couple things to point out here. I'm going to jump around here a little bit. He says, it is important to know that you are not medically authorized to make a medical diagnosis without appropriate medical training and licenses. Important to note. Always recommend that a client confirm such intuitions with a medical professional, and never recommend changes in medical treatments and routines prescribed by a doctor. Very important. Very important. I know I'm getting annoying with this, but very important. Witches must be sure to represent themselves as reputably as possible. Also very important. And one thing with that, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. This does not nearly have anything to do with medical professionals at all. Actually, I want to say this for the tarot readers out there as well. If you are one of those people that are on a 900 number or a website where you do tarot readings and whatnot, make sure that you're being reputable. Make sure that you are presenting yourselves as reputable as possible, because one bad apple does spoil the bunch. I mean, we've seen this a lot with, a certain case that is going on right now, which I hope ends in a conviction of a murderer, but we're going to leave that as it is. But make sure that we are being as reputable as possible, that you are ready to go out and give people this advice. If you are a tarot reader that will sit there and be like, oh my gosh, you got the death card, somebody's gonna die, you're gonna die. If you're saying that, um, go and, watch the Tarot Talk Tuesdays, please. And don't do any more readings until then. Just stop. There are, and maybe you guys know some people out there that are professional psychics that will just spout off nonsense and don't actually have a grounded root to any metaphysical practice. They are complete charlatans and whatnot. Call them out, because they are giving the rest of us a horrible name. And I think that is important to call these people out when you see them. Do it publicly, do it loud, do it proudly, and make sure you bring the receipts. Back up your statements. If you see it, if you know it firsthand, or if somebody has come to you and said something about this, make sure that they speak up about it. It is important for our community to know who is being reputable, so we can advise people in a certain manner. It is important for our community so we can weed out the bad faith actors, I guess you would call them. Certain individuals should not be given any type of credit. Going to people such as Miss Cleo in the what you call it, the psychic hotline that she had, that there were a lot of things that were absolutely wrong with that. What was it, her name? Sandra Brown, right? Was it Sandra Brown? The one that Montel Williams always had on. There were several situations where she's called out as being totally wrong about something. And I think it's important to, whenever people see these individuals, I'm not saying that they weren't necessarily at all psychic, both of whom are dead now, but I'm saying that, show the good and the bad. Show that, hey, not all psychics are correct. Not all psychics are going to bat 1,000, and if they ever tell you that they bat 1,000, run. Run far, run fast. I can tell you for a fact I've never gotten everything right. I have fairly good accuracy, but there are some things where I look back and I say, oh no, I got that wrong. This card actually meant this instead, but yeah, no, overall I was kind of right, but yeah, I certainly got some of the details wrong. There are certain situations where I can look back and I can say, yes, no, yes, no, no, I absolutely got that wrong. And yeah, that's something that every psychic should be able to admit to themselves. Do you have good accuracy? That's a yes or no. That can be plainly said. Yes or no, I have good accuracy. Am I always right? Should always be no. Because if anybody's always correct, there's something really wrong with their data. Anyway, I was on that soapbox a little too long. I'm sorry about that. We move on to exercise 32, psychic scanning. This is a hands-on approach, I do believe, if I remember correctly. And then we have healing techniques. I want to skip to page 283. Where it reads, remember that you are not doing the healing, but facilitating the healing. And I think this is also, there's my alarm. Okay. See, told you guys it was going to go off. This is also something that we need to keep in mind as tarot readers or psychics in general when we are helping somebody through any type of situation. We cannot and should not be called to be the ones to heal another person in any way, shape, or form, whether it's emotional or physical in this case, or even spiritually. Each person's battle is their own. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, and it's hard to do that. But it's one of those teach a man to fish type things. So moving on. He goes on to hands-on healing. Mystical traditions throughout the world, this is on 285. Mystical traditions throughout the world, from witches to early Christians, used the laying on of hands to transfer healing energy from the practitioner to the recipient. This is why I say it can be so dangerous to try to perform healings in witchcraft and whatnot. Because there are situations with Pentecostals, and more often than not, Pentecostals, evangelicals, that they will do a hands-on healing, and then people will stop taking their medicine, or they will stop, going to the hospital for cancer treatments. They will they will stop using a device that they might need to live, and they will end up dying. And this has been shown with some larger churches. Some of the televangelists, who are some of the worst individuals in life, some of them have actually completely lost their entire career because of doing hands-on healing. I don't say this to discourage you from doing hands-on healing. I'm just saying, know and, excuse me, know and be aware of some of the repercussions that your healing may have on people. They may feel like they don't need to do this stuff anymore, and that should not be these should not be decisions made by somebody in our position. These should be made by medical professionals. Oh, excuse me. I am so sorry. Dry throat. Then he goes on to exercise 33, healing case. And we're going to just pass by on that. On page 288, some practitioners intuitively gain information through feeling physical sensations instead of receiving visual or auditory information. These witches are more physical and sensory with their psychic abilities. Such sensory techniques often lead to a harmful connection to the healing recipient, where the practitioner feels the pain and illness in his or her own body. Empaths out there, something to keep in mind. That sometimes, as somebody who is empathic, you take on their feelings, and you can take on their pain. I don't want to say their illness, but their pain, their discomfort, and such. So these are things to keep in mind if you're going into the healing modalities. Again, I've never been called to being a healer of any sort, other than spiritually or emotionally. The things that are more in my wheelhouse as somebody who sits here and talks to people and offers encouraging words, or a different perspective, or another point of view, somebody that will sit there and tell you, hey, this is not logical, this is BS. That type of guy. That's more of what I'm called to do. Sitting across from somebody and saying, hey, spiritually, have you been doing this? Is this something that fulfills you spiritually? And if it's not, why not? Let's examine this. I'm that type of person. I'm not the hands-on Reiki healing type. Just saying. New assignments. Exercises 32 and 33. I will be quite honest that I am probably not going to do these, because I have never been called to be a healer of sorts. Next one is regularly scan your body, aura, and chakras for imbalances and perform any healing needed. Find illness before it manifests. Oh, excuse me. Physically. Get into an active relationship with your health. Okay. This I would recommend. Regularly paying attention to your chakras, paying attention to what's going on where and whatnot is something that you should do. As far as different healing modalities, I'm probably not going to do it. Spinning my chakras is a good technique for me, making sure they spin correctly and that they are open and receptive to what they need to be. Receptive and open to is something that I already do. Trying to pinpoint where my next joint pain or ache or headache will hit. Well, I can say head for headache, but trying to pinpoint that is a little too much for me. I pretty much know my body and know where the aches and pains are going to be, depending on the day and depending on how I sleep and depending on how I move and what work I do. So I know my body fairly well, knowing that, last week whenever I cut my finger on something, I don't know if you guys probably don't want to see that, but I have a little slice of my finger right there. I knew that whenever I sliced my finger, I said, well, that's about a week of healing. I know how quickly my body heals. And it's almost been an entire week. It's pretty well closed up. No infection. We're good. And other than the day that it actually happened, haven't wrapped it up with a Band-Aid or anything. And even then, I didn't wrap it up with a Band-Aid. I put tape over it to keep it closed. It was a clean slice. But anyway, I know how my body works. I know how my body heals itself. And that's something that I've kept in... that I've looked at for years. Keeping in tune with how your body reacts to certain things. That's why I also know that whenever I do a 40-minute video, I start yawning because I've talked for so damn long. You may not always notice this because usually I try to edit parts of that out. But I do sit here and yawn from time to time because I've talked so much and it makes my head need oxygen, which is why I will sit there and breathe in more. Anyway, continuing assignments, daily journal, write 3 pages a day. Probably won't do that, but I will journal more probably this week than I have in the past. Continue with your dream journal. Again, I have not been dream journaling. I do have my little digital recorder, but I have not really been using that, and I have not really had dreams that were memorable. Even memorable enough to remember to write down or, remember the details when I am writing things down. But whenever I have remembered my dreams, I have been writing them down in my journal. So everything's just all contained in my journal right now. Let's see. Focus on regular meditation practice at least 3 times a week, if not daily. I already do that, more or less. Use intuition, instant magic, neutralization, light, and aura reading in your daily life. A couple of those things I do on a regular basis. Others I don't. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, I've already talked about those in the past. Tips. He has some tips here. Notice your own thoughts, feelings, and impressions when doing healing. They might be giving you psychic information. Okay, for your own body and your own health-wise, I would suggest that. Absolutely. If you are looking to scan your own body and heal your own body and be more in tune with your body, absolutely, totally agree. But making it as a career, if you are not a medical professional, be very aware of the people that are coming to you and whether or not they should be going to a medical doctor as well. Next tip. If you have difficulty with a diagnosis, see if you can borrow an and hold an object of personal significance to the recipient of the healing, such as a ring, watch, or key. You will make a solid link to the recipient through the vibrations of the object. This technique is often called psychometry and works through the law of cognation, as mentioned in Chapter 8. I really want to try psychometry. I really, really want to try. Especially with the antiques and collectibles that I get. I really, really want to be able to do this, and I have not really been well versed or have not performed well with psychometry. But it is something I want to strengthen in the future. So, something I will need to try more of. Let's see. Next tip. You can also, excuse me, you can also use these techniques to heal and communicate with animals and plants. Yeah, you can. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave that. That was chapter 15 of the Inner Temple of Witchcraft. Join me next week for chapter 16, chapter 16, lesson 12, Born Again, which is the next to last chapter. So join me next Saturday for that one. And in the meantime, make sure that you tune in tomorrow. I'm going to try to have our our Christo-Paganism Sunday, continuing the Witchcraft in the Bible series. So join me then. I do have a little bit more research and whatnot to do on this, so hopefully it comes out and it is good. Let's see what else. On Tuesday, join me for the Page of Swords for Tarot Talk Tuesday. And join me on Witchy Wednesday for our solar plexus chakra. Yes. And yeah. And then join me on Thursday for Table Talk Thursdays. And then back here. Anyway. Yeah, that's how the week works. Anyway. Until next time, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit up the comments below, and let me know what you think, whether you agree or disagree, or if you want to just tell me how much I rambled on and on about needing medical professionals, rather than always thinking that something is metaphysically inclined. If you want to yell at me for that, go ahead. You're right. Just keep it respectful, and I do appreciate it. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.